The scene begins with Karen, played by Catherine Hicks, returning home with Chucky in her arms after her son Andy, played by Alex Vincent, was sent to a mental hospital for believing that the doll was alive. The scene starts off a bit slow, gradually building suspense as it goes along. Just give it a moment because things are about to pick up. While she does at first seem a bit suspicious, but it mostly just comes across as though she wants to believe that Chucky is alive just so she can prove that her son isn't crazy.
Say something, damn it!
Hi, I like to be hugged.
After a failed attempt to get Chucky to speak, she realizes how ridiculous the whole thing is and walks away. Now here's a good shot. I like how they made sure to keep Chucky on screen, but having him blurred out in the background. Every time I watch this scene, I always feel as though Chucky had moved a bit, like very subtly looking over towards Karen. It almost feels like an optical illusion, and when it cuts away to the box and then back to Karen, you could almost swear he had moved.
He wants you for a best friend. Yeah, sure.
This shit just got real. The moment you hear that music cue and the overly dramatic zoom in on those batteries, you know there's no going back now. It's worth noting here that in this film, the company that makes the good guy dolls is known as Play Partners, while in Child's Play 2 and 3 they were renamed Play Pals. It's nothing really major, just a nice bit of trivia. This is the money shot right here. Personally, I find this shot to be a really good example as to why older horror films worked so much better than modern ones. Allow me to explain. If this was a modern horror film, when Karen turned around, Chucky would be gone, which would undoubtedly reveal that Chucky was alive and take away most of the tension in the scene. But, by having Chucky remain where he is, it allows the tension to build upon itself, leaving the audience to experience the fear with her. It's little things like this that made older horror films so much more suspenseful. See what I mean by allowing the tension to build upon itself? It really adds to this scene. It just keeps growing and growing until finally...
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Now that is how you make a jump scare. You know it was coming, yet somehow it still manages to catch you off guard. In general, jump scares are usually just a cheap method of frightening the audience without actually having any real terror to them. But when it's done right, it can be quite effective. You'd think that would be the end of this scene, yet surprisingly we're only about halfway done. While we thought Chucky was about to come alive, it was actually just a false alarm. Seeing as most of the suspense went into that jump scare, everything now is going to slow down for a moment, allowing the tension to build once again. While the audience will be on the edge of their seats, it will also give them a chance to breathe. Now we get to another creepy moment as Karen slowly looks under the couch for Chucky. Seeing as this is only moments after Chucky's previous scare, it makes you terrified as to whether or not Chucky is in fact alive, and most importantly, when is he going to strike? Now that Karen is certain that something is completely abnormal about this doll, she's no longer going to play around. One way or another, she's going to make him talk. She picks up Chucky, lights a nearby fireplace, and threatens to throw him in if he does not speak. To all of you, like myself, who watched this film as a child, I present to you the moment that made you never want to look at another doll again. Enjoy.
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
While this moment did terrify all of us as children, as an adult, it's absolutely hilarious seeing how that was the very first thing Chucky ever says. Seriously, these movies can be just as much comedies as they are horror films. Now that is terrifying, wouldn't you agree? Chucky is just dripping with evilness. Also, to anyone complaining as to why she doesn't just throw Chucky into the fire, you have to remember that she's terrified and acting just on instinct. She obviously wouldn't be thinking clearly. But as soon as she does gain her bearings once again, she then proceeds to toss Chucky away. Let's take a moment to relax. So this scene had not one, but two fantastic scares. The first one focusing more on building suspense, while the second one going straight for the kill with some comical undertones. Funny thing is that the setup for these two scares are actually a good metaphor for this entire film. You see, this scene is smack dab right in the middle of the film, around 40 minutes in, and there'll be about another 40 minutes after. The first half of the movie takes itself rather seriously with a great emphasis on suspense, while the second half is a bit more comical while still having a dark presence to it. After Chucky escapes the apartment, we get a nice little chase sequence down the elevator shaft. You really gotta give Karen credit here. Only moments after discovering that Chucky is alive, she is already ready to chase him down. It's also nice that they kept Chucky off screen throughout this entire sequence. In fact, after Chucky's reveal, we don't see him at all for a small part of the film. For the next few scenes, the film will only follow Karen and Mike. In general, this was a very smart idea. Allow the audience a very quick glimpse of Chucky alive, and then take him out of the movie for a while. That way you allow the fear to illuminate in the audience's mind, and it also gives you time to build up Chucky for when he returns. So Karen reaches the bottom floor of the apartment building, only to find that Chucky had already escaped. She now knows without a doubt that Chucky is alive, but has no evidence to prove so to anyone else. As you can probably imagine, she might be a bit distraught over the situation.
No!
Thank you for your time, and have a nice night.